HVAC service, installation, repair, ROX, rocks, heating and air.
Do you know the Joker's stat line, but not your bottom line? Are you checking Rock's box scores and not your credit score? You watching Nate Dogg rack up assists but ignoring your own assets? I've been there. Trust me, it's Josh over here to tell you how my money's going farther these days. That's what I like about BOK Financial. It's what they're doing with Let's Talk Money. It's about paying a little more attention to the financial stuff that we all tend to avoid. Visit BOKFinancial.com to learn more how that money you're saving can go a little farther. Let's Talk Money. BOK Financial, member FDIC, conditions apply.
Most small business break-ins happen between 2 and 5 a.m. The owner finds out when they unlock the door at 7. Pull footage from a consumer system and you get a silhouette in a hoodie. Nothing identifiable. Vantage installs cameras that read a face in total darkness. And they don't stop at cameras. Access control, network, intercom, cabling, AV. One company, one number. Ready to invest in real security for your business or property? Call Vantage at 720-366-7759 or visit business.vssicolorado.com today.
The new 2026 Honda CR-V was built for Colorado, and July is the perfect time to get one at Champ Honda. Whether you're crushing and cruising city streets or heading to the mountains, the CR-V delivers the comfort and capability you need all summer long. Champ Honda has the largest inventory since before COVID, so you have plenty of great options to choose from. And with their one price, one person, 1 hour philosophy, you know you'll be treated fairly with no games and no hidden charges. And remember, they never charge dealer handling fees.
Hey, Rob Biandino here at BeatTheDA.com. I've handled about 7,000 cases, over 300 trials. Man, I see so many bad stops on these DUIs, unlawful arrests, the police putting body cams off. The evidence is sketchy. We got to go get the evidence. We go find those cameras, the stores, the ATMs, the banks. We got the experts to challenge their breath tests, their blood tests. My office has over 100 years experience at this stuff. Hit me up at BeatTheDA.com or 720-706-5151.
Hey, Mr. C, it's me. Well, I just picked up the ring. I actually went to Hellsberg. Thanks for that recommendation. Kate's gonna love that hers is from the same jeweler you got Mrs. C's ring from. They were so helpful throughout the whole process. They even knew your family by name, and the ring looks great. Anyways, I just couldn't wait to let you guys know. Call me back and wish me luck.
Hellsberg, designed with care and craft since 1915. Shop in store or at hellsberg.com.
This is Todd Whalen, founder of Advanced Tax Solutions. I'm here with Wes. Tell me what happened between you and the IRS.
I ended up owing $55,000 on unpaid taxes. I hadn't filed for several years and ended up settling for $25.
Hold on. So you went from owing $55,000 to $25? Now that's a great story. How did that happen?
Well, it's rather amazing, I guess. It got to the appeals officer. The appeals officer signed off on it, and obviously we accepted it.
Wes, what made you come to Advanced Tax Solutions?
You hear of many different firms or whatever on the radio, some local, some not, and I felt confident from the radio spots I heard about Advanced Tax Solutions.
So how do you feel about Advanced Tax Solutions now?
Very, very lucky and very grateful.
And would you recommend us to your friends and family who are in the same situation?
Yes, I absolutely would.
Thanks, Wes. You know, if you're listening, be our next great story, 303-753-6040 or advancedtaxsolutions.com.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. Powered by Regen RX. It's The Drive with Zach By and Philip Lindsay. Welcome to Denver Sports Tonight. Taking a look at the biggest stories in Denver sports. From your online home for the best opinions and information on the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, and more. DenverSports.com.
And it is Denver Sports Tonight on this Wednesday night in the Mile High City. He's Dante Gomez. I'm Will Peterson. We will roll with you for the next hour. And Dante, we got to start. Let's think about this driving in, where we were exactly a week ago tonight. And a week ago tonight, we were getting a little excited. LeBron James had gone from 70-1 to 25-1 to 5-1 to sign with the Nuggets. We, of course, had the Brian Windhorst floating the idea of Denver, and everyone's saying it makes all the basketball sense in the world. Man, what a difference a week can make. I'm not saying the dream is dead. I don't think it's completely dead yet, but I would put the odds at pretty low, and the odds makers themselves have since bumped those back to 25-1 for LeBron to sign with the Nuggets. Was this just a big distraction? That's kind of the conclusion I came to this morning of the LeBron carrot was kind of the carrot that, Nuggets fans are chasing. I bought into it. Anyone who listened to the show a week ago tonight, know I bought into it. But they really have had a pretty poor offseason. And we've kind of, it's been sort of glossed over because LeBron. Whereas if you actually evaluate from what they've done from a basketball standpoint, Nikola told him, I ain't signing. That's not good. That's very not good. You waive Jonas Valanciunas today to save $8 million. Okay, your backup center solution. I understand you signed Bagley. He's not going to be it. You sign Bagley, you bring back Tyus Jones, and then you trade out of the first round and draft 2 guys in the second round. Without all the LeBron fodder, I feel like the Nuggets would be getting killed right now even more so than they are. Is that fair?
No, that's very fair. That's a great point, actually. I hadn't thought about it that way. But from a Nuggets perspective, yeah, it does feel like it was one big distraction. And there was a part or a time when I was a believer of, hey, this has a 20% chance of happening. I never went quite anything over that, but it did feel like there was a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chance that he was going to come to Denver. But yeah, if you really analyze the other moves that they've made or the lack of moves that they've made, it is fairly disappointing. And at this point, it feels like the only option is to run it back because there is not going to be some blockbuster trade. You're not bringing in Jaylen Brown anymore. You're not bringing in Giannis, or I don't think that was ever going to happen. But all the big pieces, my point is, all the big pieces have kind of made their move already, and at this point you're kind of just stuck with the crust of what's left in NBA free agency. We're going to wait and see what happens with Payton Watson. He's kind of the last domino to fall here in Denver.
Well, but LeBron too. Let's not act like LeBron's put pen to paper anywhere yet.
No,
he's a little more than crust.
Yeah, I agree, but based on the recent reporting that he's whittled it down to 3 teams, 5 teams, either of those lists, the Nuggets were not on those lists.
Brian Windhorst did have one this morning that he did include the Nuggets in. Now, his phrasing was a little funny. It was, believe they have a compelling case. It's like, well, yeah.
Well, from the Nuggets' point of view, yeah, I'm sure they love LeBron.
A lot of people feel like they have a compelling case to date a supermodel. That doesn't mean you're going to start dating the supermodel. But I will say that Windhorst was at least including the Nuggets in his list on a story published on ESPN.com today.
Okay, well, that's news to me at least. I've not heard the Nuggets in contention for LeBron James's services in the last 3 days here. It does feel like it is Philly. Cleveland is the runaway favorite. Miami, Golden State, I believe, was in there. One more team, I can't remember.
Maybe Minnesota.
I think it was Minnesota, actually, yeah. And Denver was not on that list of 5 teams. So it does feel like the sun is somewhat setting on that dream that the Nuggets bring him in here.
Well, here's the most recent from Shams Charania on LeBron James.
The teams that continue to come up are Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia after they got the Jaylen Brown. Like, Philadelphia was not in the picture, and I think that's why this is somewhat a true free agency for LeBron James, because he didn't go into it with a calculation in mind, a plan in place. Because
Real quick. I'm going to pause, Shams. Isn't it frustrating that he says the 76ers are now in play because of Jaylen Brown? Some of us advocated last week make a big 3 in Denver with Jaylen Brown, Nikola Jokic, and LeBron James. So if all of a sudden Philly gets in contention and you could have had Jaylen Brown, there was a report from Brett Siegel at Clutch Points. Nuggets didn't want to include Jamal Murray. They could have had him. They instead pivot to Paul George and a slew of draft picks from the Sixers. The Celtics do, that is. We'll get back to the rest of Shams. But isn't that a little frustrating that, now Philly's in the picture because of Jaylen Brown? Well, why didn't you trade Jamal Murray for Jaylen Brown and put Denver in the picture and pair Nikola Jokic, Jaylen Brown, and LeBron James in Denver?
Well, I think that's a great question. There also was the report that the Nuggets didn't want to include Jamal Murray in a trade, and then there was another report that the Celtics weren't interested in Jamal Murray's services.
Yeah, but Paul George, can you really buy that? You really would rather have Paul George in draft picks than Jamal Murray? Man, I'm not saying you're wrong, but his value is lower than anyone outside of Denver realizes if that's the case.
I would agree with that. I think the first-round picks that Philly was able to include in the trade also was enticing to Boston, but I would have done it if I was the Nuggets. In a heartbeat in trading Jamal Murray if it means you're able to get Jaylen Brown in the building. I think it's not a better basketball fit, but I think he does things that this team needs very desperately, and I think he's just a better basketball player than Jamal Murray is straight up. I mean, Jaylen Brown was in the MVP conversation. Jamal Murray is barely on the outside of being in the All-Star conversation. So totally different leagues of players that we're talking about here. I don't get why Denver was unwilling to include Jamal Murray in a trade.
If that was indeed the case, I think it's disappointing, especially because, as Sham said before I cut him off, let's just reset this. Sham's the latest on LeBron James.
The teams that continue to come up are Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia after they got the Jalen Brown. Like, Philadelphia was not in the picture, and I think that's why this is somewhat a true free agency for LeBron James, because he didn't go into it with a calculation in mind, a plan in place, because you leave the Lakers, you don't necessarily know what your value is. There's not like a guaranteed max that he's walking into. There's not a guaranteed $20, $30 million salary slot that you're walking into. So you have to be open-minded. And so I look at it when I talk to teams now as kind of a hierarchy of Cleveland, Miami, Philadelphia, and then I think there's some teams on the periphery.
Okay, that very last sentence may give you some hope. The hierarchy of the big three and maybe some teams on the periphery. Maybe the Nuggets still can pull a rabbit out of their hat and get this done, but I think we're both on the same page that we're feeling like this was one giant distraction, and ultimately adding Marvin Bagley and cutting Jonas Valanciunas and re-signing Tyus Jones and taking a dude from Arkansas and a dude from St. John's in the second round after you traded out of the first. That's not the kind of offseason that Nikola Jokic wants to see. He can say all the right things. He just said over the weekend or a couple days ago, whatever it was, that I still want to sign with Denver, although, again, he shifted the timeline from this summer to next summer, which is scary because he has a player option, so he could absolutely be a free agent. I don't think anyone thought Nikola Jokic would hit free agency again in his Nuggets career, but we are at that point in time. This is not the type of offseason that's going to make arguably the best, second best, whatever you want to call him, player on earth happy.
No, and to me it comes down to how close do you think the Nuggets are to competing for an NBA championship? And to me, I don't believe they're particularly close. I still think they're in that 8th to 12th best team in the NBA at this point. And you heard it from Jokic after the season ended. We weren't close. If we were in Serbia, everybody would be fired. So he doesn't think they're close. I don't think they're close. I agree with that sentiment. But if you're a believer in what this team was a year ago and you think it was just a Payton Watson injury and an Aaron Gordon injury away from competing, then there is a good chance that this team could be competing for the West next year. But I just find it hard to believe that those were the two difference makers between losing in the first round to a bunch of backups in Minnesota and going and beating Oklahoma City and beating San Antonio.
Yeah, no, it does feel like we all talked ourselves into they're close. I mean, I remember I filled in on a morning show, and it was right before Avs and Nuggets playoffs, and I asked Mark Schlereth and Brandon Stokely, who are not, Kroenke employees, they're not Nuggets homers, they're former Broncos players, but I asked them, I said, what are your picks? And they both picked the Denver Nuggets to win the championship. I'd picked them to lose in 7 to OKC in the Western Conference Finals, so I clearly was nowhere near the ballpark either. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it wasn't, you're right, if we do take ourselves back, like literally 3 months ago, there were people with straight faces saying they thought this version of the Nuggets could win the championship. And I think that's frustrating for fans too, is that the playoff series against Minnesota a handful of years ago when you were trying to go back-to-back, that was flat out heartbreaking, right? You blow a 20-point lead at home in a Game 7. You know what this one was? This one was just kind of soul-crushing. This one just kind of felt like it slammed the Nuggets window shut. Yes, losing in Game 7 at home when you could go back-to-back is irreparable damage to a fan base, but I think this is the one, those 6 games, especially against the opponent, that you realize this is the beginning of the end, and they've done nothing in the first 8 days of free agency to make it feel like it isn't.
Well, to me, it feels like the beginning of the end of the first chapter. To me, you got to reinvent this team, and that's obviously not the course of action the Nuggets took this offseason. Maybe it will be the course of action they take next offseason, but the trio of Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic is stale. It really is, and we've seen what it's done the last 5-6 years, and yeah, there's a great run to a title in there. There's been some heartbreaking losses, which you just outlined as well, but I just don't see that trio being able to compete with the likes of the Rising Spurs or the Thunder, who went out and won a bunch of games during the regular season, and maybe were Jalen Williams injury away from going back to the finals and winning it back-to-back times there. So it just feels like they are falling further and further behind in this race.
Yeah, it definitely does, and obviously that could change, but it really only can change if you somehow sign LeBron James on a veteran minimum and you find a way to bring a veteran or a Payton Watson back, and then you unload a contract, whether that be Cam Johnson or Christian Brown. I don't think anyone's taking Christian Brown's contract, so at this point it would probably have to be Johnson's, although getting off of Brown's 5-year and $125 million is a lot better than getting off Cam Johnson's $23 million this year. But speaking of getting off money, that was one of the Nuggets headlines of the day, Dante. Nuggets have waived center Jonas Valanciunas. League sources told not only Shams Charania, but Hoops Hype as well. He had a fully guaranteed $10 million today. Denver will now own $2 million for the 26-27 season. Expected to have interest around the NBA, which sort of cracks me up because it's like, do you guys see what the Nuggets had to go through last year with this guy? It got really uncomfortable for a few weeks. He wanted to go play in Greece. And then this year there was the rumblings he wants to go play in Lithuania. I think this dude just wants to go play in Europe. So I know some fans are all mad about it, and I know Jake Shapiro called the Nuggets cheap at DenverSports.com, but at the end of the day, you saved $8 million today against a guy who maybe had hype, but David Adelman could never figure out how to properly use.
Yeah, you were basically begging this guy to play on your NBA franchise, begging him to take millions of dollars to play with one of the best centers and be his backup. I do still think it's so hard for me to have a strong feeling about Jonas Valanciunas' time here because there was some good in there. There really was, where there was times when you take Jokic off the court and this team would sustain a lead, and Jonas proved to be competent on the offensive end of the court sometimes.
Yeah, those non-Jokic minutes, which had always been such a disaster, they weren't great at times, but they also weren't a disaster at times.
Exactly. And there's definitely times, even in that Minnesota Timberwolves series, where you're like, ugh, this guy's unplayable. And then there was also times when I think he had like 10 points in one of the games, which if you're looking for a backup center, I think you'd take 10 points any game possible. So there was some good and some ugly with him, but overall, I would say he has been the best option the Nuggets have had at backup center in the last 5 years.
Yeah, Mason Plumlee's always the one that comes to mind for me. But, of course, he had the big gaffe in the bubble against the Lakers when he lost in the Western Conference Finals. Now we'll see about Bagley. You know, is this guy a true center? I don't know.
He's more of a stretch. I think he's more of that power forward.
Yeah, and he's a former number 2 overall pick, so I think that gets you excited. But also, it's not like he was a number 2 overall pick last year or 2 years ago. He's been in the league for a little while now. I think he played his college ball at Duke in, 18 maybe, something like that. Long time in the NBA, long time since he played at Duke. It's not some reclamation project. This is kind of, you've been in the league long enough to know who you are. With Valanciunas, too, with everything that went down with Greece last year and Lithuania this year, do you think Jokic advocated for him and now sort of regrets advocating for him? Like how, because it felt like, I know they're not from the same country, but it felt like they were friends. That European thing going on together. They're both big guys. Felt like Nikola kind of wanted him, but Nikola also kind of wanted Russell Westbrook. So maybe we're learning over time here that Nikola Jokic should not be playing GM of the Nuggets. Yeah, that's about the only criticism I have of the guy.
No, I think that's fair criticism. And I'm very curious to find out, and maybe we'll never find out, but how much of a role Jokic plays in the front office, because he does feel like the anti-superstar, where he's not asking the GM to do certain things. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out eventually, but I really want to know how much of a say he has in organizational decisions, like hiring the co-GMs, like hiring David Adelman to be here. If he's consulted at all, if he has to sign off on it, or if they just say, hey, this is what it is, and you're a player in the organization, you're not a partner of this organization. So eventually I'm hoping we find out, but I could see it being the case where he doesn't involve himself in any of those decisions, and maybe the organization just truly felt that Valanciunas was the best fit as a backup.
Yeah, maybe that will be the case. All right, we're not going to spend this whole segment on the Nuggets. We got another 10 minutes or so here. Let's get over to the Broncos because it is list season. I love these lists from ESPN.com, ranking the top 10 players at each position. It's actually really interesting because they poll a big combination of league executives and coaches and scouts and assistants. So they're not polling Johnny Fanboy on this. They're polling people who work in the NFL. J.K. Dobbins did not make the running backs list on Monday, didn't even get a single vote. And then on Tuesday, Pat Surtain II is the number 1 corner in the NFL and gets 75% of the first place votes. And today, good for Nick Bonito. For the first time in his career, he cracks the edge rushers list, which is littered with superstars. You've got Myles Garrett, you've got Micah Parsons, you've got Max Crosby. Number 10 on that list beat out Cleveland's Jared Verse, which, of course, takes a little getting used to because he's now a Brown and Garrett is now an L.A. Ram. I'll give you the floor. We'll hit on all three here in the next 10 minutes. Which one do you want to start with? Dobbins not getting a vote, PS2 a runaway number 1, or Benito finally getting on there at number 10?
Let's start with Benito, because to me, that was a good surprise to see on that list, where we know here in Denver what he's been able to do the last handful of years. And 2 years ago, he was in the running, let's call it, for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how much of a real shot he ever had.
Or just last year.
Was it just his last season?
Yeah, it was just his last season. Because PS2 won it 2 years ago, and then
You're right.
the joke was, it'd be fun if they win it back-to-back. He really was in that conversation until December, and then he sort of unfortunately fell off down the stretch, and certainly in the postseason.
Yes, yeah, you're right about that. But it just feels like he's getting some national recognition, and that's how sports works. You hardly ever walk on the scene, and nationwide, everyone's like, oh, wow, look at this guy, especially when you're not a top 10 pick or not even a first-round pick like Benito was. So it's good that he's on the radar of a lot of these people, and who knows, if he goes out and does have the production he had last year, maybe he is further in that conversation or can actually win that award. To me, it's kind of a rising process where you have to get on these lists first, then you can be considered for those kinds of awards. So good for Nick Benito, and keep it going.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is he's just going to need to produce in the postseason for sure. Because why did the Broncos win Super Bowl 50? Not all of it, but a huge reason was, of course, their ability to get after quarterbacks. I mean, 3 weeks in a row, they made life nearly impossible for Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Cam Newton in 3 straight wins. Of course, that was Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Shaq Barrett was in that conversation as well. Even a rookie, Shane Ray. I know people say his career didn't pan out here. He was good his rookie season. You had 4 dynamic edge rushers. You flash forward to these Broncos, a lot of people want to compare Super Bowl 50 to now. Well, you've got Nick Benito. You've got Jonathan Cooper, which is a giant elephant in the room. We don't know how that's going to play out with his legal situation and getting arrested twice in a span of 8 days. You've got Jonah Ellis, who Sean Payton goes to owners' meetings and says, we're going to move that guy to the inside. And everyone's like, what? Like, Jonah Ellis has showed some pop on the outside. You need depth. And then, of course, you have this sort of funny, maybe not possibility of Von Miller, although Von Miller was posting himself in a Dallas Cowboys jersey today on Instagram. Not that there's anything official. It was just Vaughn being Vaughn. He's from the DeSoto area, which is a suburb of Dallas. But it does make me chuckle a little bit that people want to compare Super Bowl 50 defense to this defense. Okay, in the secondary, maybe I can see the comparisons. But edge rusher, especially with everything that's happened with Cooper over the last month, let's slow down on those comparisons, and let's look at what Benito did in the playoffs last year. It was kind of a non-factor, unfortunately.
Well, I'll speak up for the current Broncos defense, and they did just set, if I'm not wrong here, didn't they just set the Broncos single-season sack record this past season?
I think they led the NFL in sacks, yes.
So there is something to that the combination of all of these guys, they're getting home to the quarterback at least. The names aren't quite what the names were in 2015 when they went on to win the Super Bowl. So we're going to have to see what these guys turn into, but it wouldn't surprise me if Benito ends up being a Pro Bowler for the next 4 out of 5 years, something like that.
Well, and they paid him to be that for sure. I mentioned Garrett was 1 on this list. Parsons was 2. Will Anderson Jr. down with the Texans was number 3. Crosby at 4 from the Raiders. Aiden Hutchinson with the Lions. And then Hunter, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, and Brian Burns round out.
It's a loaded list.
It's just a loaded list for sure. And it's good for, like you said, Nick to crack it. I mean, 13.5 and 14 sacks back-to-back years, that's worthy of cracking it. And I appreciate the pushback that you're right. As a unit, they got a lot of sacks. And I think Vance Joseph deserves a lot of credit because you're looking up on some Sundays going, who just had that sack? You know, it wasn't quite the household name of a Vaughn or a DeMarcus or a Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, Shaq Barrett, etc. All right, let's go over to the corners. This came out just yesterday. Pat Surtain, number 1. Dante, the biggest thing that stood out to me, he got more than 75% of the first-place votes. Edge rusher, it's like, ooh, we could debate. A lot of positions on this list are going to be big-time debates. We're pretty lucky in Broncos country that they have the number 1 corner in the NFL, and it's not even really any sort of heated conversation.
Yeah, he dominated that poll in a way that I didn't see him dominating that poll. I feel like he had a little bit more of a quiet season this year compared to what he did when he won Defensive Player of the Year. I still think Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the NFL, but I wouldn't scream at the top of my lungs if someone was arguing for Derek Stingley or if someone was arguing for Christian Gonzalez in New England.
That is 2 and 3 on this list, by the way, Stingley and Gonzalez.
I think both of those guys are very good at what they do. Again, I think it's Patrick Surtain, but I'm a little biased being here in Denver on a nationwide vote like that. Very cool to see him get the respect that he deserves.
Well, and this quote stuck out from, who was this from? A seasoned NFL coordinator told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, quote, It's not close, so pushing back on you. It's not close. A generational player. Watch the AFC Championship game. He was the best player on the field by far. So,
wow.
Some pretty high praise. And normally when stuff is anonymous, these guys are a little harsher. This guy was anonymous and still went out of his way to praise Surtain, although I'm laughing. Seasoned NFL coordinator. What if that quote is from Vance Joseph? That could be the only thing. I don't think it would be from VJ. I think it'd be from someone on an opposing team. All right, so Surtain 1 on that list. Benito 10 on edge rushers. You go to running backs, man. I didn't expect J.K. Dobbins to be in the top 10. He didn't get a single vote. Let me give you some of the guys who not only were not in the top 10, but at least got a vote. Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, Quinshawn Judkins, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Chase Brown, Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, Travis Etienne Jr., and Alvin Kamara. I mean, that's 19 guys who got at least one vote. And J.K. Dobbins, a dude who has puffed his chest this summer and said, I'm going to lead the league in rushing, doesn't get a single vote in this poll.
Yeah, to me, that just speaks to the injuries and him not being able to complete seasons where, hey, you're great for the first half of a year, but we need you throughout the year. We need you come playoff time when the weather changes, and running the ball helps this team a lot. I mean, you look at the AFC Championship, how nice would it have been to have J.K. Dobbins out there if you're the Denver Broncos?
The September or October version of J.K. Dobbins,
yeah,
for sure.
Exactly, especially that version of him when he was top 5 in the NFL in rushing. So it's not that big of a surprise to me. It's hard for people to probably project of, hey, if he had a whole season of this, look where his numbers would have been. I don't know.
But Javonte Williams gets a vote?
He was great last year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm still scarred by his time in Denver. Ashton Genty, you can't tell me he was great for the Raiders. What's he doing getting a
That's
vote?
probably more of a projection of what he's going to be, because I do think he will be a top 10 running back, not just from the projections or the hypotheticals on the field. You throw in a real quarterback there with him and a real coaching staff around there as well. I do think he will be a top 10 running back, but to have him in there now is probably a little premature from what we've seen.
The other running backs on this list, number 1, Bijan Robinson. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs. Saquon at 3. Christian McCaffrey at 4. Jonathan Taylor, JT at 5. Derrick Henry at 6. James Cook at 7. Devon Achane at 8. Kenneth Walker III at 9. And Breece Hall at 10. Interesting toward the bottom of the list there. A lot of people wanted Achane. You know, could you get him from the Dolphins? Much like you got Waddle. He ultimately signed an extension. Kenneth Walker in free agency. A lot of Broncos fans were pounding the table for him, the Super Bowl MVP. He ends up with the Chiefs. And then, of course, Breece Hall. Feels like that rumor's been going on for a long time, but he has since signed an extension with the Jets. I do feel like, and we'll talk about this more as we get closer to camp, but I do feel like running back's just going to be that position we're monitoring all year long. And do they regret not buying at the deadline last year? And maybe they will buy a running back at the deadline this year.
Well, how confident in Jonah Coleman are you that he can take
I know
over
nothing
if
about
Dobbins...
him. He's like R.J. Harvey. Like, I watched his college highlights. He looks great. But then R.J. Harvey got to the NFL. A guy has a nose for the end zone. He's good on the outside. He can't do anything up the middle. I don't know what Jonah Coleman's going to look like come week 9 or whenever the trade deadline is. Probably even earlier than that, week 7.
Well, I think that's the guy we have to monitor then, because I'm with you. It's very cloudy what his role is going to be with this team, and if he's able to step in, if J.K. Dobbins were to go down again, like we've seen in the past with him. Because to me, I think we learned enough about R.J. Harvey to know that he can't be the lead running back. He's a great offensive weapon, but he can't be the lead running back. The new question is, can Jonah Coleman be that guy?
Yeah, exactly, and I think they put a lot of eggs in the Coleman basket. I think Cecil told me on record he would have drafted Coleman in the first round. It's like, whoa, okay, well, they certainly didn't spend a first or a second or a third on that guy, but eventually landed Jonah Coleman. Just want to circle back to the Benito thing real fast. I may have misspoke. Text lines give me a hard time. I was talking about his whole playoffs. He was actually pretty good in that Buffalo game. Forced a fumble, I believe, in the Buffalo game. So it was more the Patriots game. He didn't even show up in the box score. It's like he was on the field, but didn't register a single stat to end up in the box score. So that is that's a little bit of a bummer, but the defense played really well in the AFC title game without him that day. So, yes, Nick Benito, he's a great player. He is a great player. We're just going to need to see it more moving forward down the stretch, because, again, go look at his Defensive Player of the Year campaign that kind of fell off a cliff, unfortunately. All right, CU Buffs. A lot going on with Dion. There's always stuff going on with Dion when he gets in front of a microphone. And his quarterback said something interesting, too. You'll hear all that next.
With the MLB trade deadline fast approaching, Houston is reportedly showing strong interest in Colorado outfielders Jake McCarthy and Mickey Moniak. Could two of the Rockies' hottest bats be on the move? And who else could be shipped out to rebuild the club? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Guys, are you looking for a simple solution to hair loss this summer? Get Advanced Hair's breakthrough one-day treatment during their once-yearly summer savings event. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and Advanced Hair guarantees it will grow. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar during Advanced Hair's best offer ever. For details and a free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR or at advancedhair.com.
When you've been hurt after a traumatic car crash, you don't need a sales pitch from an attorney with big promises and a loud voice. You need a team who fights for real results fast. That's why so many across the country choose the Berg Simpson Law Firm. Berg Simpson is nationally recognized, but is local right here in Colorado. So give us a call and let our team fight for the results you deserve today.
If you've been injured, call Berg Simpson for free now at 303-790-2525. BergSimpson.com. Good lawyers changing lives.
Gebhardt BMW, your trusted family dealership since 1975 in Boulder, has a championship-level lineup ready for you to test drive and take home today. They currently have specials on both the BMW X3 and X5 models. The BMW X3 model is a luxury compact SUV that offers balanced handling and a powertrain variety. The BMW X5 model is a high-performance powerhouse luxury model that offers you a thrilling driving experience. They also have a great pre-owned BMW lineup as well. Schedule your test drive today. Go to GebhardtBMW.com.
Gebhardt BMW, your trusted family dealership since 1975.
Hey, it's Phil Lindsay here. Do you need a new roof, gutters, or exterior needs? Monarch is your one-stop shop, backed by 16 years of experience and over 10,000 satisfied customers. Their in-house insurance team fights for you, and their white glove service means every detail is handled with care. Competitive pricing, award-winning craftsmanship, and the only roofer the Denver Broncos chose to endorse. A proud member of Team Dave Logan, make the call to your home team, Monarch Construction and Roofing, the official roofer of the Denver Broncos.
The fun doesn't stop at the rides at Elitch Gardens. Watch incredible drone shows light up the Denver sky. Then grab a tube and float into a dive-in movie marathon week, where blockbuster family films play right in the wave pool. Meet family favorites like Blippi and Mika, Peppa Pig, and the Power Rangers during special live appearances all season long. Plus enjoy thrilling coasters, family rides, and Colorado's only combination theme and water park. Make your summer unforgettable at Elitch Gardens. Get tickets and season passes now at elitchgardens.com.
Brandon Stokel here from my friends at Roller Auction. Do you have items you're looking to sell?
since 1976. Roller Auction has been conducting commercial and industrial auctions for Colorado government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, small business owners, secured creditors, individuals, and more. They have a large marketplace to showcase your assets, so don't wait. Visit rollerauction.com for a free consultation and turn those items into some cold, hard cash. Again, go visit them at rollerauction.com. That's rollerauction.com.
It's Denver Sports Tonight on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
Big 12 Media Days were this week, and of course, Deion Sanders, the head coach of the Buffs, was there. Juju Lewis, the quarterback, or at least presumed quarterback, was as well. Isaac Wilson may have something to say about that. The younger brother of Zach Wilson, former Broncos quarterback. I'm not going to lie, these kind of snuck up on me a little bit this year, Dante. It feels like the hype with the Buffs right now is at the lowest it has been since Deion's been in Boulder. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It feels like after last year, what we saw, and he did hype up last year's team. He was saying this team's going to be better than the year before, which featured Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. And I think a coach needs to believe in his team, but maybe save that one in the holster. You don't need to say that one into a microphone. The expectations are very low for me going into this season. I want to say the win total is 3.5. So even if you can get to 6 wins, that's a monster success.
You get to a bowl game, you're feeling good about the team in Boulder this year. You're right. Glad you brought that up. I remember getting into it with Philip Lindsay. He's like, it's a good thing that they're better without Travis and Shedeur. I'm like, Phil, one of the dudes won the Heisman Trophy. It was the second overall pick, and the other one should have been a first-round draft pick and had this unprecedented draft fall. I don't think it's a good thing they're losing those guys, and it certainly wasn't. But anytime Deion finds a microphone, he's going to make some headlines. And, of course, Juju Lewis. This is the guy who was the 5-star that they landed when he was 17 years old. He skipped his senior year of high school. And then in the moments he did get a play last year, it's like, oh, that looks like a dude who could be a senior in high school playing D1 college football. Wasn't exactly pretty. Listen to what Deion had to say about his, again, presumed starting QB.
Juju is making tremendous strides. We want him to just take control and do what he's capable of doing. I made a big mistake, man. You got to understand, I've coached my son my whole entire life, so everything was like, compared to that, that's hard to get. You know, him and Travis, it's hard to understand, so you can't judge everybody by that. Instead of wanting certain aspects of his game, I got to digress and say, you know what, he's young. Let him develop into that. Let him come in, let him grow into that, and just let him play the game, and allow your coordinator, Brendan, to do what he does, and he can put that sauce on it because he's really good at that. But allow Juju to grow into that role, and don't have the expectation that he has to be right here and right now.
Yeah.
Just do your job. That's all we're asking.
I'm not sure that was the strongest endorsement of all time. I made a big mistake because all I had known was coaching my son. I probably put this guy in the same conversation as my son. He certainly didn't live up to the hype. And then while he compliments him a little, he closes with basically saying, take your time, young man, take your time. Again, I think Juju's going to be the starting QB. I'd be very surprised if the Buffs don't make him the starting QB. But Isaac Wilson, I mean, we know how good his brother was in college. Led him to be, what, a top 5 pick of the New York Jets? Now, Isaac was at Utah. He's now with the Buffs. He's clearly looking for an opportunity to be a starter somewhere else. No one's ever putting him in the same conversation as Zach. And I'm not talking about NFL Zach. I'm talking about college Zach, who was a very, very good player. But I don't think it's a slam dunk that Juju is the starter like some Buffs fans want to believe. I think based on that answer, needs time, needs to grow. I could see them week 1 at Georgia Tech, hostile environment down there in Atlanta, tossing out an Isaac Wilson and not a Juju Lewis.
I would still put it at 80% that Juju Lewis is the week 1 starter for this team, and if he's healthy, starts all 12 games of the regular season. But I actually like those comments from Deion Sanders, being able to take a step back and say, hey, I put a lot on my son, but that's my son. I can do that. If it's just another quarterback, I don't know what his past is. I want to give him time to develop. And I don't know if you heard Julian Lewis's comments from Media Day as well about how, well, I wasn't really reading the defense last year. I wasn't coached to do that.
Let's play it real quick, just so folks can hear it. This is Juju Lewis making some headlines of his own.
My play, I'm actually looking at the defenses now. Last year we wasn't really looking at defense as much, just kind of high school free ball and just out there playing football. But, you know, it's a lot bigger than that now. So should be fine.
I mean, that's a glaring admission. I was just playing high school free ball. Where were the coaches? Where were the coaches during this?
Where was
for
the
Juju?
coach that used to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL?
Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur, what are you doing if you're not teaching your guy to read defenses? So it does make me wonder if Shedeur was just that talented when he was here, or maybe he wasn't reading defenses either, but he was just getting by playing that backyard football with Travis Hunter and just uber talented with his arm, where he was able to make it work. We've heard stories like that in the past of Johnny Manziel. He watched zero film, and he didn't even know how to watch film when he got to the NFL. He was just that talented. So maybe Shedeur was that way, but not every quarterback you're going to bring in is going to be that talented and be able to do it on the fly, impromptu, and make plays happen. I'm happy that Juju's getting a real coach this year, and I don't want that to be a shot at Pat Shurmur, but
you can take shots at Pat Shurmur. I'm not too worried about it. It's a damning 10-second
yes,
quote.
It's crazy that someone would say that, and not only say that, but actually have that experience in college football.
And then, of course, Deion, we know, got accused of chasing clicks a few years ago by Dan Lanning, the head coach of Oregon. I think it's better that CU football is a little more in the shadows now and not so prominently featured, because year one, it didn't work out. Year two, it worked out really well until you had to go to Arrowhead and face Kansas, and then the wheels came off. And then year three, it was obviously a disaster. I couldn't believe turning on, Fox Sports or ESPN or CBS, and there are the Buffs just getting trounced. I can't imagine the networks really like that. So, Deion, is it all about the hype now, or is it all about the players in that room?
Player-wise, to sit down in front of a computer with staff and pick out every darn player, not just because of their ability, then you bring them in and you interview them and you see that intangible. Do they have that thing that you need at that position? Do they have that quality that connects players together? And to handpick all those young men, as well as on the recruiting trail at this point right now, I love it. And it's us. It's who we are, what we desire. It's not just grabbing the guy who's a 4-star or a 5-star, which we don't have any of those anyway, 5 stars, but it's the guys that fit and the guys that have that mentality that they want to play the game. They're not just here for a bag. They're just not here for the lights and the cameras. They're here because they love the game. Yeah. Those are the type of guys we have on the roster right now.
So which is it, Coach Prime? They're not here for the lights and the cameras, but a few years ago, it was very obvious that the lights and the cameras were the thing that was the most important in CU football. Dan Lanning used that as motivation for his team, and then Oregon and Bo Nix kicked their butts that day. And they were the TCU win was exciting, but let's be honest, they were pretty damn bad in year one under Deion. Outside of that miraculous win in week 0, week 1, whatever it is. Year two, yeah, you had the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. You had Shedeur Sanders. You were definitely a lot better, but then last year the bus completely broke down. They were not a good football team. So it is funny to hear Deion now kind of position himself as like, ooh, we're really doing our homework on these guys, and we don't care if they're not 4 or 5 stars. It's about intangibles. It's about fit. My pushback to that would be, Deion, a few years ago, you could get 4 or 5-star guys. Those dudes aren't walking through the door anymore. In fact, they're walking out either to the NFL or, like in the case of a Jordan Seaton, to LSU.
Yeah, and to me, he's saying the right things, though. You want to build a team with grit, especially when you're not getting those 4 or 5-star guys, or a lot of them in the building. So he's building the roster the right way, in my opinion. It reminds me of my alma mater, Arizona State, where Kenny Dillingham, his big thing is like, dude, I don't care how many stars you have. I need to see that you're a dog. I need to see that you compete at absolutely everything you do. And Dillingham has turned around that Arizona State program pretty well since where he took over. So I think he's getting the right people in the building. Deion Sanders, that is, up in Boulder. We'll just see what the results are. We'll see the development that the coaches are able to have on these guys. But again, I think it's going in the right direction compared to what we saw at least last offseason.
I get where you're going with that, but one, it's easy to say all these things in July. It's a lot different to actually perform on the field in September, October, November, December. And two, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but did you see the spring game video? These dudes weren't exactly the biggest guys in the world running out of the tunnel.
There was some missing context there. I think a handful of those guys were defensive backs, which are never going to be the biggest guys on the field.
There was still like 30 of them. I don't think it was 30 DBs. Were they all punters?
There was, I believe, a kicker in there as well.
Okay.
So the positional size matters, obviously. They're not going to be the biggest team. They're not Texas Tech being able to outspend some of these other teams and get the biggest guys in the building. But I think there is something to be said for grit and competitive nature inside of you. And if you have a couple stars within that as well, with Juju Lewis could be that star on this team, kind of makes everything go. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they end up being this year.
All right. Well,
I'm going in with an open mind.
You go from Shedeur and Travis both finishing in the top 10 in the Heisman to Tommy's going to try really hard this year for the Buffs, so get your popcorn ready. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. I think this is Deion Sanders last year in Boulder. I hope I'm wrong, but it just feels like it's trending in that direction. All right, some of the numbers for the World Cup are coming out, and they are approaching NFL Conference Championship game numbers. This is wild. Is soccer the new second most popular sport in America? We'll dive into it next.
The Avalanche have set their sights on another Stanley Cup. But the biggest move of the offseason might not happen on the ice. What's next for Cale Makar? As Colorado builds for the future, all eyes are on a potential contract extension for the franchise defenseman and cornerstone of the Avs organization. How will it get done? And what does it mean for the team's championship window? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Progressive knows it ain't easy navigating the open plains of home insurance, but there is one man who can help tame that wild herd of options. The Home Quote Explorer.
Note, Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is not a real person, but an online tool that lets you compare home insurance.
He's the type of fella who helps you decide on the right insurance, even if it ain't with him.
Again, not a person, just an online tool that helps you find great home coverage.
A real pioneer.
Okay, fine. Just do the thing. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Let me tell you about the Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite. It's bright, it's bubbly, it's back.
The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich, it's so rich, and you can choose between the original or the spicy filet.
Ooh, boy.
And then you got those pickled jalapenos tucked right under the filet, and then just to top it all off, you've got a little honey drizzle right on top.
Okay, now I'm a pimento fan.
And I'm feeling the dragon fruit.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Don't worry, Dan. I have full coverage. Did you know that full coverage probably doesn't mean what most people thinks it means? Full coverage is generally just for your car. And if you don't have other coverages to protect you in the case you get hit by somebody else, well, then you're just straight up gambling that the bad driver that hit you has good insurance, and you don't want to do that. 15% of the drivers out there don't have any insurance at all. Others only have the minimum. When for pennies on the dollar, you can have the coverage that protects you in case somebody else smacks into you. Medical payments coverage. I saw a lady come in the office the other day, $25,000 in med pay coverage. Absolutely what you want. It was only $31 for the entire 6 months of the policy. It was another $100 or so for the UIM coverage she needed. She had over $100,000 in coverage there. You definitely want to have that. You protect other drivers if you hit them. You also need to protect yourself in case they hit you. Any questions at all, just call us. 303-LAW-4040, Jacobs Law, 303-LAW-4040.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing a lawyer, but getting some guy who just watches courtroom dramas.
How does the defendant plead?
Guilty.
Wait, what?
Also, objection.
You object to what?
Erroneous.
Counsel, approach the bench.
Hey, can I get a whack at the gavel?
You wouldn't settle for just any lawyer, so don't settle for just any insurance. Get the real deal with State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Most home sellers get one offer. It's somewhere between lowball and not good enough. Orchard changes that. With Orchard's new Orchard Offers, you don't just get one offer. You get multiple cash offers from serious investors all competing for your home. That's right. Make investors compete with Orchard's cash offer marketplace. Here's how it works. You work with an Orchard agent who submits your home to their exclusive network of hundreds of local cash buyers. They come to you with offers. You review them all and pick the best one on your terms. So you don't have to settle on one offer or worry about leaving money on the table. You see every offer side by side. That's how you know you're getting top dollar. Orchard Offers means no repairs, no showings, no drawn-out process. Before you accept any offer, see them all first. Get a free home valuation and see your offers today with Orchard Offers. Go to Orchard.com. That's Orchard.com.
This segment on 104.3 The Fan brought to you by Weichert Realtors.
Want real Broncos talk? Cecil Lammy and Andrew Mason bring the heat on Orange and Blue today. The most passionate intelligence and in-depth Broncos coverage in the game. Weekdays at 5 p.m. on the Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan YouTube channel. Hit subscribe at Denver Sports 104.3 and never miss another take. Orange and Blue today, powered by Ramos Law, official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan presents
Shams Charania reported a couple days ago the Kings are waiving six-time NBA All-Star DeMar DeRozan, making him one of the top free agents, sources tell ESPN. I don't know what DeMar DeRozan has left in the tank. He kind of got lost on some bad Kings teams the last couple of years. To me, it all comes down to the money, though. Like, is this guy willing to come sign on a vet minimum? Sure, I'd bring him in a heartbeat. If he's looking for one more big payday, and I don't blame him, and he wants to go get, 3 years, $70 million from a bad basketball team, then that's his right. Yes, would I be interested in DeRozan, again, for a vet minimum? Of course I would. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
I'd be interested in him, but I also don't think he's moving the needle too much. I mean, has anybody looked at this Nuggets team and said, hey, we need old guys that can only play offense? Because that's what DeMar DeRozan is. Yeah, he's a great mid-range jump shooter, but I just don't think he's what this team needs.
Yeah, and it is. We started the show saying a week ago, we're all in on LeBron, and now we're like, could we get the corpse of DeMar DeRozan? Like, it's not the most exciting time to be a Nuggets fan. I appreciate the text, though. The 8926 says it's malpractice that David Adelman is still the head coach of this team. I think a lot of Nuggets fans would feel better about running it back if they had fired Adelman and went and got a veteran assistant. I can't give too much pushback there. It feels like Adelman, those 6 playoff games, did a lot of damage to his reputation. He won 54 with a beat-up team in the regular season, and then the lights just looked way too bright in the postseason for not only the Nuggets, but their head coach as well.
Yeah, it really did. And malpractice feels a little mean, but Anilo asked me earlier if I'm from Phoenix. I'm a Suns fan. He said, would you take David Adelman to be the head coach of the Phoenix Suns? And my answer very quickly was heck no. And I wish I could use a expletive in there as well. And Anilo's point was, if the Suns don't even want him, why would the Nuggets want him with prime Jokic?
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like David Adelman. If he loses this Nuggets job, it doesn't feel like he'll be a head coach in the NBA ever again. Maybe a long time.
At least not anytime soon.
Yeah, long-time assistant for sure. The 0028 says, Shedeur wasn't even that good. His jersey should not be hanging at Folsom. He fell that far because of his arrogance and the fact he won't be in the NFL in the next 4 years. I agree with about half your text. I disagree with the other half of it. I do think his arrogance played a huge part in him falling on draft boards, and I think his jersey should not be retired. And I'm just going to take my cue from a bunch of CU alum on that who have come out very outspoken against it. They're like, we don't have a problem with these guys eventually getting retired, but he and Travis Hunter certainly skipped the line, and Hunter's got a much better case coming off a Heisman Trophy than Shedeur Sanders does. What I will disagree with that texture on is Shedeur wasn't that good. No, I would go rewatch the 2024 season for the Buffs. Shedeur Sanders was pretty damn good. And won't be in the NFL in the next 4 years. I think it depends on if he gets a chance somewhere besides Cleveland or if he's willing to hold a clipboard, because Shedeur Sanders could be a serviceable backup QB for a long time. But yes, if his arrogance and immaturity and all that, then teams just aren't going to touch him with a 10-foot pole moving forward.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you go back to that season, he was pretty dang good. Travis Hunter doesn't
you can
win.
call him that. Yeah,
yeah, it's a little nickname I made up for him. But Travis Hunter doesn't win the Heisman without Shedeur Sanders throwing him the ball. And obviously, Hunter played both sides of the ball, but those offensive numbers skyrocketed because Sanders was able to push the ball downfield and throw for 100 or not 100, like thousands of yards during the season. So he was great as a college quarterback, arguably the best college quarterback that year.
Yeah, there's a reason a lot of people project him to go in the top 10, the top 5, because normally that's where the top QB in the game goes. And then, yes, a bunch of things happened off the field that turned teams off. All right, I want to pay off the tease. Monday night's round of 16 match between the U.S. and Belgium generated 42 million viewers, which is a huge number. 42 million, I mean, that's more than the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball. That is so many people. That's between Fox, Telemundo, and Peacock. And that wasn't even the biggest American TV audience of the week. Richard Deitch, I think, of Sports Business Journal says nearly 45 million watched England versus Mexico on Sunday night. That total figure comes from 23.1 on Telemundo and Peacock and 21.742 million watching on Fox. Total, again, of 44.8, basically 45 million. Here's where it gets really interesting. By way of comparison, the NFL's AFC and NFC title games in January averaged 47.4 million viewers.
Wow.
So the Broncos and Patriots and the Rams and Seahawks hovered right around 47.5. You got the U.S. and Belgium doing 42. You've got England and Mexico doing 45. Obviously, the Super Bowl is going to blow this out of the water, but we're not talking about, they matched the Week 4 numbers of Chiefs-Texans on Sunday Night Football. We're talking about both the U.S., Belgium, and Mexico, England basically did the same numbers as the AFC and NFC title games.
I am curious to see how the numbers change going forwards. Those might be the two highest rated games in America, at least, now that America or the U.S. is eliminated, now that Mexico's eliminated.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you, yep.
So I'm curious to see where the numbers go from there. But if you tuned in to that Mexico versus England game, you were in for a treat because that was an awesome game to watch. High scoring, high drama, had a little bit of everything. I will rebuke a little bit. Your tease mentioned is soccer the number 2 sport in America now after these numbers. I'm not ready to go that far. I still think it's at best number 4 passing hockey.
Okay, but the numbers I just told you back up because that is higher than any NBA, NHL, MLB by a mile. I mean, even what were the Knicks?
Yeah, but you're mixing in national pride into
But the Knicks and Spurs were doing like 25 million in the NBA Finals, which was one of the biggest NBA Finals numbers we had seen in a long time.
That's also a 7-game series. If you add all the games up, I bet it passes the single game of the U.S. there.
It's not the second most popular sport. I'll give you that. I would still lean towards basketball as the second most popular sport in America. But I think there's no doubt about it that there's a market for soccer in this country.
There's a market for U.S. soccer or national soccer.
45 million watched England and Mexico.
Yeah, but we have a lot of people that support Mexico in this country as well.
Absolutely, but it's not just rah-rah USA pride. It's pride about wherever you're from, and a lot of people who live in this country are proud of their team and want to root on their team.
I'd be curious to see how it compares to the U.S. versus France gold medal basketball game.
Okay. Well, if I had more time, I'd pull those numbers, but we can maybe dive in that tomorrow. For Dante, I'm Will. It's DST on the Fan.
The Nuggets are making headlines. Payton Watson's contract talks are heating up while Denver's reportedly exploring a blockbuster run at LeBron James. Can the Nuggets keep their rising young star and add one of the greatest players ever alongside Nikola Jokic? Stay locked in for the latest twists, rumors, and reactions. Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Incredible savings this 4th of July at Mountain High Appliance. Hi, I'm Brad Barnett, president and founder. Celebrate the 4th of July with amazing savings throughout our showrooms. Get a top-of-the-line GE French door stainless refrigerator for only $24.49. Save almost $2,000. Save $3,000 on an entire cafe stainless kitchen, now only $88.86. Plus, we'll match any local competitor's price.
Mountain High Appliance, your favorite appliance store.
Thank you.
Every day, cyclists across Colorado are seriously injured by careless drivers. I'm Rob Wilhite of the Wilhite Law Firm, and for nearly 50 years, my firm has been fighting to make those drivers and their insurance companies held fully accountable. We know these cases, we know how to win them, and we won't stop until we get you the maximum compensation you deserve. If you've been injured in a bicycle accident, call the Wilhite Law Firm today. 303